Feng Shui, as the name itself, or Feng Shui, as in the West is often pronounced, means, so Feng Shui means wind and water. And it's not literally the wind, but is the qi, the energy. So wind was used as a synonym of energy. So Feng Shui is, we can say, it's the knowledge about earth energy. And this is much further than placing furniture in your house. So we can say that the Feng Shui comes, the qi comes from the environment around the building, and the Feng Shui can calculate and observe and determine what kind of qi comes, how is it distributed, and according to that, we either plan how we will build, or in existing places, we can see what are the influences of the environment, of the earthly qi on the inhabitants. The qi from the environment enters the building, and the Feng Shui is the knowledge that can be used to calculate and observe the patterns of how and what kind of qi enters the building and how is it distributed in the apartment or in the house, whether different areas, how this qi or different energies, actually, mix of energies, influences the inhabitants, anyone who live in the house. And according to that, then we can do certain things in the apartment, in the house, and adjust it. Feng Shui has different levels, and one way it can be used is, of course, to plan the house before it is even built. But of course, the existing places, existing houses will as well can be Feng Shui. So the knowledge of Feng Shui is used to balance, harmonize every environment. In another way, when the qi in the house is balanced or harmonized, it is actually very supportive, and in that way it influences positively anyone who lives and stays there. So it's not about the furniture. Actually, the Feng Shui can be done in a way that is not even visible. But as I said, there are different levels, different approaches, or different methods that need to be applied in each individual case. Indeed, many people are not aware of the power of the Feng Shui. Actually, Feng Shui is always influencing us. So we just don't know that in many cases, it is the place we are staying, the place where we live, that can, because of bad energy influences, cause troubles, blockages, repetitive problems, even in some cases illness, and so on. So as it can be negative, of course, it can be even more so positive. So the Feng Shui can affect and is affecting every area of our life. So whatever a person would need to improve, it can be applied with the Feng Shui. So the energy that then accumulates in the house then gradually supports the person. So Feng Shui can be done for a person particularly, or it is usually done for a person particularly. When we boost a positive influences of some house or apartment, it will positively affect everyone in the house. But we can also, and of course we adjust it to individual, but for a particular problem, we can always even read it, the problem, in the Feng Shui. We can see where the problem is, and then we mitigate it. So we mitigate that energy, and on the other hand, we add or stimulate a positive energy. So yes, it can help from career, health, relationships, money. So it is famously used in the countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, for boosting the prosperity. And these two countries that I mentioned, they are using it on the country level. So even the government is using it for the country itself. In that way, they are having obviously some results. They are having high standard there, and people, each person in these two countries, but there is also Taiwan and so on, would have a Feng Shui master, like a family doctor. So every family has a Feng Shui master, because they're very aware of the power of Feng Shui, of the strength, and they have this awareness. So they would, every year they would have a Feng Shui master to look at their house, suggest new things, and of course when they are looking for a property, they would absolutely employ a Feng Shui expert as well, of course, when you are building. So for businesses as well, of course, for offices, Feng Shui is highly used because it has a very strong effect. Yes, it's a very common thing to understand Feng Shui as some kind of interior design that also includes a little bit of yin yang. And so this is a common misinterpretation or like diluted understanding of Feng Shui, which is an ancient knowledge that is ongoingly being developed. It's like science, that it's constant discovery. So Feng Shui now, as I was mentioning before, the countries where it is used a lot, it is absolutely adapted to a modern man or modern way of living. And in that sense, in the old times, it was used to generate a family, a lineage that is very important about the ancestors, how they will be doing, and it was like long term. And in nowadays, it's more, because we live a very fast life, it gives like also very quick results and quick influence. And I want to say, so yes, we do look at colors. We do employ them when we want to enhance one of 5 elements, which are the base of all Chinese metaphysics, and in that way also Feng Shui. But that is just one layer that can be added, and when it's needed. And of course, sometimes it is definitely adding to the balance of a certain space, and it's not unimportant. But the classical Feng Shui, when I say classical, is like very original, not this popular Feng Shui, is much more than just interior design. So the interior is like putting a cream on the cake in that sense. And yes, colors are important, but on the other hand, I would say that this popular Feng Shui makes some kind of disadvantage in how people understand what Feng Shui is for. And definitely, so many people even get intimidated. Okay, I'm not good in like finding nice things. I don't know how to make it pretty. And that's why, or I don't want to change my room into yellow, or I don't know what. I don't want to be painting or changing things. So in that way, they're like, okay, so actually, as I mentioned before, Feng Shui methods are very various, and Feng Shui can be applied without any change in the house. It is not necessary to buy things in order to, let's say, fix Feng Shui in your house. Of course, if you are new to the house or the apartment, having a Feng Shui assessment beforehand is always useful, because you can then exactly know where you will put or arrange things, and then you buy proper, appropriate things. On the other hand, where you already live or already work, there's usually not necessary to be like making tremendous changes. And you can always, as I said before, yes, there can be things that could be done and bought and changed. But of course, there are methods that don't demand any change in the space. Also, there is some kind of, we could call it superstitious Feng Shui, which people use. Mostly, it's quite popular in Southeast Asia to use it like that, where there's a belief that a certain type of statues would help with Feng Shui. This is not necessary and it's not needed. It's mostly more of a symbolic matter. And why I say superstitious is because Feng Shui knowledge has been kept secret for many centuries. And it was just for the privilege, just for the emperors, just for the rulers. And so people were observing, they didn't know what is the knowledge, but they would kind of conclude certain things. And then out of this, these superstitious ideas, statue has to be here or there, come from. But it's not necessary to buy anything in particularly looking like it's Feng Shui or anything like that. Every house, every space is very individual, and every place can be approached on a different level with a different method, and in that way, in general, no, it's not needed, but some people would make changes in the house itself. Yeah, there is no limitation in that sense that something is too small, something is too big. Actually, even a room can be Feng Shui, and the Feng Shui will work. It works in a principle circled from macro to micro. So whatever applies in a big floor plan, it can apply in any smaller space within that floor plan. And the same way, apartments are usually part of a bigger building. Still, it's not about the size. It can be applied. And as I said, even the size of the room will influence. And it can be changed, and it can be positively boosted with a supportive energy. So yeah, there is no limitation about the size of the building. Yes, Feng Shui can be applied for any area in the life, any problems. So therefore, yes, it can help with relationship issues. It can be applied for different reasons. Sometimes people are looking for a relationship and cannot find a relationship. Sometimes there is a problem in an existing relationship. So all these things can be, in a way, if there are arguments and discordance, this can be mitigated in the space, and then in that way it already helps. But it can also be stimulated, the harmony between people, and so on. So yes, it can be applied. There are many stories how Feng Shui change life people. And also Feng Shui works in like stages. So if you are here, you will go on the next stage, which is already a big change. And then after a while, you will go to the next stage again, and so on. But yes, there are cases with a health issue. This is like a lingering problem or something that a person thinks he or she has for life. And then with the Feng Shui application, the results can come in few weeks, like a life-changing results. Then there are cases for relationships I mentioned before, someone who could not find, I mean, this is many cases like that. So a person would not have a relationship for years, but trying and even meeting someone, somehow it doesn't happen. Or sometimes there is interest, but there is no conditions supporting it, and so on. And then with application of Feng Shui, literally overnight, not just that a person found someone, but like a real love story would happen. And when people write me or tell me later, they're usually already living with that person. So there are different, there are many cases. And also for the family, so like the whole family would get results. The child would suddenly be much more interested in school, for example, or get much better results at school. Career absolutely can be influenced by Feng Shui. So sometimes it can happen. This was one case that a person was, that lady was very much interested in a certain promotion within the company she already worked, and was like really eager to get exactly that. Yes, Feng Shui helped, but in another way that maybe she didn't predict, but was way better than she could ever expect it. And she ended up in a much higher position in another company that was actually like a competitor company, much better salary, much easier working environment. And yes, and at first it was like kind of a shock because things start changing quite a lot. But then she just couldn't believe, because she would never imagine what is waiting for her. So we can see that Feng Shui is supporting someone's potential to like fully live her or his life. So whatever is there, and on the other hand, if there's blockages, if there's something which is like even like a patterns that are inherited or where a person is very suppressed, the Feng Shui will push gently in a way that the person overcomes certain, can be fixation, can be even like a pattern of behavior. So even on that level, the person changes. And yes, it does sound like things just kind of are handing into your hands, and it is in a way like that. But on the other hand, it also makes us going through a certain needed transformation. So sometimes there's a lot of times people are like feeling that there's something missing or that there is something for them, but they cannot find it. So by the activating the chi in the environment, in the home, that suddenly things would start opening, right? People would be coming. Sometimes this can be meeting some expert or some consultant, and sometimes it would be that in the school that suddenly there is a change with the professors, and then the child can, or with kids, and then the child can find a better conditions. Of course, Feng Shui, as I mentioned before, greatly influences the money flow, the income of money, the money accumulation. And this is something which can really be measured. So this is something what people obviously see. And just to understand is why is it like that? Is where we are constantly exposed to a certain, where we live, we are constantly exposed to certain energetic pattern that will always influence us. It can't be that it doesn't. So when we activate so when we choose and balance, mitigate, activate the other methods for Feng Shui to work, it will be like constantly nourishing us. And this manifests, yes, it can be in money, in numbers, but it manifests even also in the events with others, with opportunities that open. So yes, you do still need to, you can't just like be laying in the bed and then everything happens. I mean, partially, yes, but it also activates you in your own direction. And so there are really many cases, and also personally. So when you're learning Feng Shui, you are of course first applying it to yourself, and this is where you really see how it works, what it brings you, and then of course through a lot of experience you also need when and what is needed for a certain case. So yes, Feng Shui definitely changes life, and the look at it through Feng Shui perspective or Chinese metaphysics perspective of what influences our destiny, our life. It would be 1/3 is our moment of birth, or we could call it astrology. This is 1/3. Another third is the environment. So the energy of the place we were born is also imprinted in our energetic field. As of course, wherever we are spending time, where we sleep, we spend most hours sleeping in one location. That's why home is so important, to have a supportive Feng Shui. And this is 1/3 that influences us. And then there's the third, obviously, and that is our own free will. And this is where we can say the choices we make, decisions we make, but also the knowledge we have, the awareness. So Yes, in the Feng Shui itself, you don't need to really fully understand it or do anything. It is applied. You just, need to get a Feng Shui assessment. So you don't need to like learn it or anything like that in order to work. But yes, so this 1/3 is the choices we make in our life. And so in that way, a lot of what is the destiny, what was pre-written for us coming here, can be changed or mitigated or whatever, unblocked through Feng Shui and through our choices. Yes, I am conducting Feng Shui courses. People can learn Feng Shui. For many, it's a very fascinating study. I would also say that it does change the way you see things around you. It does change also how you feel things around you. So it's a very interesting study. And there's different levels of Feng Shui. And also every year, there is a Feng Shui webinar that is about the annual influences. Because in Feng Shui, every year brings different energies and they distribute differently in someone's house or apartment. So it's very good opportunity that every year we can tap into the pattern of qi of that year and stimulate or use the energies that are positive that year. On the other hand, as this is yin and yang, there's also every year brings some negative influences. And by learning about it, it is very easy to not by mistake trigger such energy. Also, it's easy to learn how to mitigate negative influences and do practical things so that annually you can use that energy for the support whole year long. So yes, Feng Shui can be learned, but as I said, maybe even at the beginning, there are many misconceptions about what Feng Shui is. And until you start with it, learning it, you cannot know how and what, but by learning it, it also like changes many things for yourself. It learning Feng Shui also stimulates a strong personal transformation. So because it's Chinese metaphysics, so it's meta and it's physics. So there is a need to use of a left brain, but at the same time, the so-called right brain would get stimulated. So many things start happening to the students once they tap into. So they start seeing and understanding things in their life on a different level as well.